Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
For the last 14 years, he's been known as Detainee 239. Shaka Aamer has spent nearly a third of his life in Guantanamo Bay, and yet this evening he returned home to the UK without charge. His plane landed at Biggin Hill Airport this afternoon, and the man, picked up by a bounty hunter in the Jalalabad region of Afghanistan back in 2001, was released without charge. He's always denied any form of extremism, and in later years he became an advocate for other prisoners' rights. He could now be in line for £1 million payout as compensation. Tonight we ask why he was kept for so long and what purpose Guantanamo Bay has served.
Please, we are tired. Either you leave us to die in peace, or either tell the world the truth. Open up the place.
The voice of Shaka Aamer, recorded in his cell by an American documentary team in Guantanamo Bay 2 years ago. Today, Mr. Aamer, the final British resident in Guantanamo, arrived back in the UK after 14 years of internment without trial. He was cleared for release in 2007. A Saudi national, Aamer had been living in the UK before his arrest, where he had a wife and 4 children. His youngest son, who he has never seen, was born the same day he was sent to Guantanamo Bay. Mr. Aamer, or Detainee 239, as he was known, was captured in 2001 in Afghanistan. He claims he was engaged in aid work at the time. But yet in classified US documents released by WikiLeaks, Aamer is described as a recruiter, financier and facilitator with a history of participating in jihadist combat. The documents also state that he admitted travelling to Afghanistan in 2000 to serve with the Mujahideen. In spite of these allegations, he was never charged. His lawyers have said he was subject to regular beatings, sleep deprivation, and spent almost a year in solitary confinement. Shaka supporters say that the delay in his release was due to security service fears that he could reveal damaging information. At Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, he alleges that British intelligence agents questioned him and knew that he was being tortured. It is unlikely then that his return to the UK marks an end to his story. But for now, Mr. Aamer has said he has more pressing priorities, like a cup of coffee and reuniting with his wife and family. So was Guantanamo worth it? What has it achieved? Our 2 guests tonight both know it well, but have seen it from different sides. Here in the studio, Moazzam Beg, a former detainee incarcerated there for 2 years. And from Washington, David Rivkin, a former legal advisor to the White House. And thank you both very much for coming in. Moazzam Beg, you've been in touch with Shaka Aamer's family today. What kind of response have they had?
Of course, they've been overjoyed. They've also been apprehensive about what it means to reconnect with a father, with a husband. Of course, Shaka has not seen those children. The last time he saw them, they were babes in arms, and his youngest, Faris, he's never met him until today. So what that means for Shaka is to be a father once again, to be a husband once again, to be a member of society once again, and to be able to walk out of the 4 corners of the cell that he used to be in, unrestricted, is something completely new for this man.
David Rivkin, 14 years and then no charge at all. Guantanamo seems pretty indefensible on a day like today, doesn't it?
On the contrary, the fact he's not been charged does not signify anything. He was held as an unlawful enemy combatant. He was held for a number of years while the conflict was still going on. It's quite common not to charge people in most circumstances, and despite all the insinuations to the contrary, he was held in extremely humane and comfortable conditions, frankly better conditions than most people in federal prisons. And if you assume for 1 second that really was not a charity worker, that he was an unlawful enemy combatant, which was plenty of evidence, then he belonged to an organization that committed unimaginable acts of brutality, killing innocent women and children, torturing people. So with all due respect, I'm not greatly moved by his desire to be reunited with his family. What about people who were killed, tortured, had their heads cut off?
You don't see him tonight, then, as an innocent man. Is that what you're saying?
Let's not try to relitigate on TV whether or not he is innocent or he's an unlawful enemy combatant.
Well, it is quite crucial to this, isn't it? Because you're accusing him here of things that he may or may not have done. So in your mind, he is not an innocent man tonight. Is that right?
No, he's not an innocent man for a simple reason that we have two administrations. The Bush administration and the Obama administration has been quite critical of the latter administration of Guantanamo. No, he's had multiple reviews of his record by objective, honorable military officers. Not a single review held that he was not an enemy combatant.
And never convicted. Let me just go to Moazzam Begg.
No, it's not a question of convicting him.
Well,
it's a question of looking at the record and concluding that there's sufficient factual evidence to establish he was an enemy combatant.
Well, a lot of people play by the rule of law in this circumstance, and I want to ask Moazzam Begg, when you got home, and now looking at Shaka's position within society, do you feel like an innocent man, or do you still... You've heard this opinion here from an advocate of Guantanamo Bay. Do you feel that you are vindicated?
We're talking about countries here that advocate the rule of law. We're talking about countries that talk about habeas corpus, the right to the body, that either you're presented with the evidence against you and charged and prosecuted, or you're released. There cannot be this third type of situation that the gentleman here is trying to suggest. Even Obama has ordered the closure of Guantanamo. He's said because it's an indefensible place. People are being executed dressed in orange suits in Iraq by ISIS, for example.
David Rifkin, it doesn't alarm you. It doesn't alarm you that with somewhat 800 held, there have been fewer than 2% convicted. That is not a concern for you.
For benefit of your viewers, in a military justice system, in a laws of war-driven system, which is very different from criminal justice system, it does not mean it's lacking in due process. In every single war in human history, people were held for years in prisoners of war camp. Most of them, vast majority, were not convicted after World War I and World War II. It's not a question of conviction. It's a question of was there sufficient evidence to conclude that he was an enemy combatant.
So you would keep it open, presumably, would you? Would you keep this camp open? Would you keep it going?
I would keep Guantanamo open, but it has nothing to do with your question. My point is this. This is an individual, give the benefit of a doubt, to numerous reviews conducted by honorable military officers who looked objectively at the evidence, concluded he was a member of Al-Qaeda, which is a horrible organization which killed thousands of people.
By at least 6 U.S.
Not cleared. That's a lie.
By at least 6 agencies.
Wait a second, just let him finish, please.
He's been cleared by 2 consecutive U.S. governments. He has never been designated for trial, even by a military commission, which has the lowest standards
You are
of
misleading.
Proof. And the process that exists there only exists on Guantanamo. If you look at the Uniform Code of Military Justice, any American advocate from the military has not been trained to use that process, and even that process, they were never charging Shaka Aamer. So I really don't know on what basis you're saying that he's guilty. He's not. He's been held in false detention. He's been held in. He's been kidnapped and renditioned and tortured. He's been the victim of crimes.
I want to pick up on that point in terms of the interrogation, in terms of the torture. David Rifkin, are you convinced that British authorities supported U.S. authorities in what they were doing to inmates in Guantanamo?
I would be amazed. First of all, I have no factual knowledge of what transpired in any particular time, but I would be amazed, based upon everything I know, that anybody was mistreated in Guantanamo or anything that involved British officials. But let me just say one thing.
Wait, you're saying nobody was tortured? You're saying nobody was tortured in Guantanamo Bay?
Of course, nobody was tortured in Guantanamo Bay. Okay, there can be debates about what happened with CIA.
Have you completely missed the CIA Senate report on torture? Have you been living in a different world completely? Even the United States is admitting that torture took place. That Obama, why did he order the closure of Guantanamo? When he came into power, why did he say that I'm going to end torture? Because he accepted that torture existed. Waterboarding took place. These things did happen. The only place where they didn't happen was in your brain.
No waterboarding took place at Guantanamo.
So President Obama got this wrong, did he? President Obama misspoke or misunderstood? What do you think?
President Obama was referring to enhanced interrogation at so-called CIA black sites. That's a totally different issue what happened in Guantanamo. Nobody's alleged that there was any mistreatment in Guantanamo. But look,
nobody's alleged that. I think every single prisoner and American soldiers who served there, and including some prosecutors, American prosecutors like Matt Diaz, who resigned from the military commissions process, said the torture was taking place. You had
in Guantanamo. That is total rubbish.
You had Captain James Yee who said that torture was taking place. You've got numerous people who served in Guantanamo who said torture took place.
What do you think Guantanamo achieved, David Rivkin?
Guantanamo has been harshly criticized, and we paid a price for it. I understand that. But Guantanamo symbolizes that this is a real war against an implacable enemy, which if we do not win, is going to cost us dearly. This is not a criminal justice exercise, and I'm afraid that a vast majority of our European friends just don't get it.
Then why were over 670 prisoners, including myself, released? If we were so dangerous, why are we free men? That doesn't make any sense at all. You see, you made the big mistake. You called us the worst of the worst. You called us terrorists. You called us all sorts of things without any legal process at all, without any evidentiary process at all. And in the end of it, what you're left with is a place that is a stain on the United States of America, which you're trying to defend.
Do your viewers know what is the recidivism rate of individuals who have been released from Guantanamo?
2%.
Over 20.
Yeah, writing a book.
Rubbish.
I wrote a book.
Over 20%.
I wrote a book, and that's called recidivism. Also, the Tipton guys who made a film, it's called recidivism because they made a film about Guantanamo. That's nonsense, please.
Okay,
no,
I'm so sorry we've run out of time.
20% of our people went back to fighting and killing innocent civilians.
We've got to end it there. Thank you very, very much indeed. Thanks for coming in.